So quick disclaimer. The views and opinions you're about to hear are those of the hosts and guests alone. They don't represent any police department, agency, sponsor, or employer. Two Cops, One Donut isn't responsible for anything said by guests or for any videos, clips, or content shown during the live stream. This show is intended for adult audiences only. We cover real incidents, we show graphic and sometimes disturbing footage, and we don't shy away from strong language or adult conversations. There may or may not also be alcohol involved. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Everything you hear or see on the show is for entertainment and educational purposes. It is not legal advice, and it's not tactical instruction, and it shouldn't be used for such. By continuing to watch, you're telling us that you understand, you accept all this. All right, now let's get into it. All right, welcome back. Two Cops, One Donut. I am your host, Sergeant Eric Levine, and today I have with me my co-host, as usual, Banning Sweatland, and then today our guest of honor, once again, welcome back, Sean Paul Reyes. You know him as Long Island Audit. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey,
Thanks for having me on your channel and my channel.
Hey, hell yeah. So for those watching and they're like, what the hell is going on? Sean's been on the show before. We use a program called Restream, and we combine our networks, and it just kind of helps get exposure to everybody. It's, it's team play. It's fun, and it works out. But if you're on Long Island's channel and you're like, who are these two guys? I'll just tell you real quick. I am an active law enforcement officer in Texas. Banning was an active law enforcement officer when we first kind of started doing this, and he's since retired, and now he works private sector. So, but we are part of what we do is we try to bridge the gap between police and the community by one, not being a police echo chamber. As Sean can tell you, we want accountability as well. And one of the things that we do is we bring on the people that are pointing out what law enforcement are doing wrong to try to learn from them, to try to improve it, and then try to take those lessons back to law enforcement so they can learn. And law enforcement has learned over and over and over again from Sean of what not to do because he's been arrested 13 times in the last 5 years, as we were discussing offline. And the man has not had one conviction upheld. So he's doing it right, and the police are doing it wrong. And we need to learn because that's why he got started, to teach us a thing or two. Is that right, Sean?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Listen, I just want to say for those watching on my channel that I've been on Sergeant Levine's channel before, Two Cops, One Donut, and I appreciate the work you guys do. You guys review body camera footage, and I think you guys are straight shooters. From what I've seen, everything you guys do is above board. Eric, you and I have talked offline numerous times now, and I appreciate what you do for your community, and I appreciate what you do for, as in terms of bridging the gap between the public and law enforcement. I really do.
I appreciate it, brother. Well, I know you've got limited time.
Yeah.
And sorry, Ben, I didn't mean to cut you off, brother. I know you got limited time, and we're both trying to enjoy the one day off we have. And I want to get right to it. So for those that don't know, I'll just recap real quick. Sean went to do an audit / protest and journalist move. And I like how he put it. I'm capable of multitasking. I don't have to do one at a time. And he was out doing that, and he got arrested in the process. And if you guys know his style, it's always the same because it works. Why change the formula? So Sean, kind of give an overview of what that was like.
Yeah, so the whole reason that the Suffolk County Police Union, in particular, Lou Civillo, who's the president of the police union out here, the whole reason he became on my radar is because he went to the steps of City Hall in New York City with a bunch of different unions from across New York State, and he was one of the keynote speakers talking about this legislation he's trying to get passed against what he said was auditors and people who record the cops, and who it's basically like a halo law. The one, if you're familiar with the halo law that's passed in Florida, it's similar to that. I believe it's 15 feet instead of the 25 feet, and it hasn't made it out of committee or anything yet, but he's using his political power. And as we were talking about offline, the unions here in the Northeast, they have, especially the Suffolk County Police Union, they have a lot of power, political power. So he's trying to use that in order to get this law passed. And me being born and raised in Suffolk County, Long Island Audit, right? It's my whole brand. I saw this as a direct attack, not only on all of our constitutional rights and our First Amendment rights, but an attack personally on me because I'm the only auditor where he's from. So, and the crazy part is I've never really had a bad interaction with the Suffolk County Police Department. The Suffolk County Police Department has always upheld their oath, and they haven't arrested me or done anything, engaged any misconduct with me until, the other day.
Gotcha. Now, when you were going to the PBA, people are going to, this is one of the questions that was asked to me. What was the purpose? Like, what were you trying to accomplish when you were there?
So I was trying to get some comment on him because there was a recent story that was just published in Newsday, our local newspaper here, that law enforcement officers were getting these backroom deals between the union and the Suffolk County government where they admitted to their misconduct. And in exchange for admitting to their misconduct, they were given a certain amount of time, depending on the situation, whether it was 2 years, if they were 2 years away from their retirement and getting a full funded taxpayer pension, they would let them stay on the job for 2 years, and then that's when they would separate after the 2 years. But it wasn't just 2 years, 5 years. There was actually an incident where I believe his name is Jose Estrella, and he was using the surveillance technology that we have in Suffolk County to inappropriately, I'll just say, allegedly. And he admitted to general misconduct, and they told him he needs to separate from the Suffolk County Police Department in 14 years. I mean, 14 years. So in 2031, he'll have to separate from the law enforcement agency here. And I think that those deals are extremely suspect and cost the taxpayers a lot of money. If somebody's engaging in misconduct where you don't want them to stay on for as long as they possibly can, then you should just terminate the relationship right there and there. You shouldn't wait until they get a full funded taxpayer pension. So I went there to speak to Lou Civillo about not only that, the legislation that he has. He's a very busy guy. The legislation he's trying to put through in the state. I invited him to, after the camera came, I went to invite him to the channel to see, because I see how he goes on these things, and he goes on a lot of podcasts and things, and he's very good at what he does as far as gaslighting and trying to change the narrative. Oh, they just admitted to general misconduct, but he doesn't get into the specifics of, that was the agreement, but what did they actually do?
Yeah,
they admitted to general misconduct doesn't mean it wasn't that serious, and he's trying to downplay it. And he is, as the union president, he's the big advocate for that department, and he's a proponent of he wants to get rid of all of these transparency laws we have, like 50A, which is like where you can get like criminal records from the IA records from the law enforcement agencies, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to have a conversation with him, see if he would have a conversation with me. I'll be honest, I didn't think he was going to, but I didn't think he was going to arrest me either.
Yeah. Well, luckily he didn't spit in your mouth. So
yeah, that's a good thing.
It's like, hey, you won that one compared to the last time we seen you get really, really arrested. Now, when you were entering the building, was there a request for you to not go in? Were there signs up that says not open to the general public? I'm just trying to get ahead of what they're probably going to ask in court or anything like that. So
yeah, so there wasn't any the property, and we can get into that with the actual charge, because I think you guys will find it interesting when I show you what the actual charge is. But there wasn't any signs. The property wasn't fenced in any way. Didn't say restricted area. There was no private property signs. I understood it was private property. Let me be clear. A lot of people think that, why would you go on private property? Private property, you don't, as you guys know, it doesn't mean you can't go on it. It just means that you can't stay on it if somebody tells you to leave, which is what I was doing, obviously. But there was nothing in the vestibule area. There was you couldn't get through to the next level without being buzzed in. Okay. So I was just waiting for them to buzz me in. I rang the doorbell, and I'm waiting to speak to somebody.
Okay. Yeah. It's no different than going into, a sports club or anything like that, and they have doormen or whatever. Instead of doormen, you just had a secured door. So you're allowed to go up there, and then once they get to the point where they're like, no, you can't come in, then you got to go. That's it. So for what you did, for what I saw, let me get this out there. I already watched everything. So from a cop's perspective, Benny, did you get a chance to see his video?
I got cut off about a quarter way through it. I didn't get to see it all.
Okay. So from what I see, from a cop's perspective, you went on, you talked, you asked, you're trying to ask questions, and they told you to go. You immediately said, okay, and you started moving. Now, where the law is at, there's no speed requirement. It's just continuous effort is really what it comes down to. And you made
no lingering.
Yeah. You made continuous effort, and you didn't make an attempt to take the longest path possible or draw it out or anything like that. You just started moving, which is what you want. Now, you're a journalist. They should expect nothing less from a journalist that did what you did. You recorded, walked backwards, and continued to move while agreeing to go. And you didn't curse. You didn't do anything profane. You didn't do anything out of order. So this is me as a cop looking at your demeanor, how you're acting, what you're doing. For me, that's like the perfect person to deal with. I would have been like, all right, hey, brother, like, look, we don't want none. You got to go. And I wouldn't have followed you. I would have just said, you got to go. And
all right. You know, I just thought of this really quick. You know, they didn't even have to, you know, they came down 5 deep. You know, the treasurer, the union president, I don't know who the other individuals were, but there were 5 of them in total.
Mhm.
You know, they could have just had there was somebody working at the front desk. They could have just had somebody at the front desk just come to the door. Or if there was a speaker, just say, hey, you're not welcome here. You need to leave the property. And me, the law-abiding citizen that I am, would have left the property without any
problems.
And I probably would have left a lot quicker because I had no one to talk to on the way out.
Yeah.
That
was to me a clear presentation of power. That's what that was. That was a flex, and that was ego, because there's no need to make that type of contact. There's really not. If you got a door guy, let the door guy do his job. Hey, tell him he can't come in. He's got to go.
Yeah, for the police union president, the guy so powerful like that, somebody who thinks he's so important, you know, for him to come down himself to escort me off the property seemed, you know, it wasn't a wise decision on his part, that's for sure. And I think that's pretty obvious at this point.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, y'all. Eric Levine, 2 Cops, 1 Donut. I'm out here currently on my military time, and I thought I'd take a second to kind of give a shout out to my sponsor, Peregrine. I've roughly got about 18 years of law enforcement under my belt, and I've seen a lot of really cool advancements in law enforcement. The biggest advancements in law enforcement, I think, are like fingerprints, DNA testing, and then more recently, I would say license plate readers. Those things have all changed the game in law enforcement. And now I think Peregrine is on that level that's going to change it up. But I've had people ask me, what is Peregrine? And I want to talk about that. Now, there's a caveat to it. Peregrine is so in-depth, I'm only going to talk about one small feature that it's able to do, because I can't fit everything that they do in one little ad. All right, I'm going to take you on a little mental journey. So if you're law enforcement, you work for an agency, this is for you guys. So follow along with me. Imagine you're an investigator and you're working on a property crime. We'll say a property crime specifically like air conditioning thefts. That's a big one in Texas. You've had 2 cases this week alone. And typically speaking, unless you go talk to the other detectives that you work with, you're not going to know for at least a week or maybe a month or 2 that they also have AC thefts that are related to your thefts. In investigations, there's like this internal gap of sharing information. Here's where Peregrine starts to flip things on its head, so to speak. Peregrine can sift through your reports and start to identify the detectives and the cases that match the similar MO to your cases that you're working. And it can bridge that information and present it to you in an easy-to-read package. Well, hold on. It gets better, I promise. Peregrine can scan your CAD calls for related incidents and can even comb through suspect history in your report rating system, like RMS. It's able to match possible suspects based on the MO and the geographical locations. Oh, wait. The rabbit hole goes deeper. If you've got a suspect name, Peregrine has the ability to analyze your stored body cam videos and search for that suspect's name and find videos of them to give you the most up-to-date context with that suspect. And what's great about that, as an investigator, you know your body cam has the ability to geolocate. So you can see the latest locations, specifically where your suspect was last seen. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and all I wanted to do with it is tease you guys enough just to seek out more information. So please reach out to me personally, DM me, or reach out to peregrine.io and just tell them that Eric Levine from 2 Cops 1 Donut sent you. I don't endorse things I don't believe in, and I would stake my reputation on their product. Please check them out, because I know it's going to change law enforcement. Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. You didn't force entry. You didn't try to get in. You didn't do anything. You just knocked on the door, rang the doorbell, and you were standing there with that lady. Who was that lady?
She was a real estate agent, I believe, or she was something to do with a real estate deal. She was late for a closing, she said. So in that office, I've later found out in that building that's owned by the PBA, the police union, there's actually multiple businesses in there, real estate broker, businesses that would help a law enforcement officer if you're buying a house. You need a tax attorney. I believe there's a wealth fund there, I guess, for your 401k or whatever. They have a lot of different things that I'm sure cater to that agency.
Yeah. Now, when you were leaving, now I know we've kind of discussed this, but at no point there could have been nothing that was like, oh, he stopped. He's putting his feet down. He's not going anywhere. Or were you always moving the whole time?
Yeah, I was always moving the whole time. And the good thing is, if you look in the reflection of the glass there of their building, you actually see me moving. Again, albeit slowly. I have no problem saying that I was moving slowly. Well, that's what happens when you're walking backwards. You're not going to speed walk back. I can't teleport off the property. I'm not going to turn around and sprint. So I was walking backwards, and people, oh, well, why are you walking backwards? It's very simple. I have 5 armed individuals who are looking to do harm to me, following me outside of the building. So I'm not going to turn my back to them because, number one, I need to be recording them at all times. Number two, if I were to turn my back to them, they could say that I was reaching in my waistband, doing something now when I'm facing them, they could see my hands. They can see what I have a microphone in my hand, like a recorder, and the camera in the other hand. It's hard to find a cameraman. I tried to get a cameraman for this one, but it's hard to get a cameraman when they keep getting arrested. Nobody wants that. So.
Right. I understand. Before I keep going down this path, Banning, you got anything you want to chime in on, brother? I know I talk a lot.
No, sir. I'm just excited to hear all of this. Like I said, I didn't get to see it, and I don't want to. We got a limited time.
We could watch it.
So
yeah,
we could absolutely do that.
We can. I don't want to eat it. I want to get through some of these questions.
Let's do it
first, and then we'll if you want to go through the video, we will go through the video. Now, I want to get into the ego side of thing, and this is what I want your audience to understand. One of my important things is when it comes to law enforcement, what gets us in trouble the most is our ego. Cops' ego is enormous, and one of the biggest triggers to ego is unmet expectations, I should say. So the moment that you didn't leave in the manner in which he wanted or preferred, that you already triggered that logical, rational thinking over to his emotional thinking. So when you triggered into that emotional thinking and he was trying to tell you, he wanted you to get off there faster, and you weren't doing it, but you were continuing to move, and you knew he didn't have anything until the moment you figured out a way to flick that ego right in the forehead. And then you said something to the effect of, go ahead and arrest him.
Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I'm going to arrest you. And you said, go ahead and do it. Wow. And that was it. And again, it doesn't matter what level you're at. If you do not have control of your emotional triggers,
that's it right there.
You're done. And you had him.
You have to control your emotions. And obviously, Lou Civillo, the president of the police union, does not have any control over his emotions. And in my experience, the cops that engage in this kind of misconduct and constitutional rights violations, like a Fahey, Patrick Psycho Ryder, police commissioner of Nassau County, these individuals, they have no control over their emotions. They're just reactionary. They don't think, they don't critically think about anything. They don't assess a situation. And to me, that's super dangerous in a field like law enforcement, when you have to make split-second decisions. You have people's lives in your hands, people's freedoms in your hands. And if you can't make a rational decision and you can't take time to actually think about what's going on and control your emotions, listen, I'm not saying that he had, he could be upset. I have no control over people's feelings. You can be upset all you want. I was upset when you put the handcuffs on me, but I didn't go spit in his face and try and bite him. And, I didn't try and throw him. He's a smaller guy than me. I didn't throw him over while he's trying to, handcuff me. I complied with the arrest and I didn't resist, and I was arrested. And he put that, we could talk about the handcuffs in a second, on my pinched nerve, but because I control my emotions. In that moment, I am extremely angry at this individual for taking my freedom away from me, putting on the handcuffs really tight. But I know better than to just go and attack a law enforcement officer. I know better. And just like he should know better than to violate people's rights. But the difference is, and this is the key difference, Eric, and I think you'll agree with this. The difference is the reason why I know there would be serious consequences if I were to fight back that unlawful arrest. And there's serious consequence, felony charges, if not an ass whooping, right? An ass whooping and felony charges. He can do what he does because he knows that he's going to get away with it. Eventually the taxpayers might have to pay something, but he's going to get away with it. So that's why, in my opinion, he can do what he does. He can do what he wants to do.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's one of the things that for those that don't know, we actually, at where I'm at, you guys won't hear me say my department. I have to keep it separate. That's one of the weird things about being an active cop and doing this is like you do kind of walk a fine line. So I try to.
You're one of the only ones. You're one of the only ones.
One of the only ones. So in that, we actually put on an ego course at our academy, and we teach officers, one, what is ego? How do you know when it's triggered? And how do you mitigate it? We're actually giving them the tools they should need and use to help realize when you're going through something like what you just went through on there. And I think one of the times where I could not believe the fact that you were able to keep your shit together was when Fahey spit in your mouth. Bro, like I still hats off to you because I would have, you obviously got upset, but at the same time, you were still able to keep your stuff together.
Right. And that's important. The reason I'm able to do that, and that was probably the one time I probably wouldn't have been able to do it if he didn't have the gun in his hand. Honestly, I don't know what would happen if he didn't have the gun. I was cognizant of the gun in his hand. And I knew, but spitting in someone's face and in their mouth is the most vile thing ever. But I realized the moment I'm in, and I realized what I need to do and how do I need to conduct myself. And just because someone spit in your face and somebody punched you or something like that, I was young and stupid at one time. I'm grown now. I'm 35 years old, and I'd like to think that I'm a lot smarter now. I'm more in control of my emotions. So when somebody's at the bar and they step on your sneakers, like when you're young, you might want to get angry and fight them, or but now that I'm older, I'm like, hey, no worries, dude. Like it's not a big deal.
One of the questions from the audience was, what is the damage to your truck?
Okay, so the billboard truck, I don't know if there is any damage or not yet. I've been super busy here at home and with editing these videos and putting this all together and planning everything, getting my attorney, doing everything, but planning for the protest. There is, and I just want to say this really quickly, there is going to be a protest on July 1st at 1 p.m. at the Suffolk County Police Benevolent Association headquarters, on the public sidewalk. Of course, I am not invited to go back ever again. So, but there's a public sidewalk right out front, so that's where we'll be protesting. I'll have like merch, we'll order some refreshments, maybe some pizza, but it's just we didn't want to send a signal to the residents here and to the PBA that we're not going to tolerate this.
Okay, so you get arrested, your truck gets taken, impounded because it was running on a public street, I assume. Oh,
it was in their parking lot. Yeah.
Oh, it was in the parking lot. Okay.
It was in their parking lot. Yeah.
I got you.
Private property. It wasn't towed by the Suffolk County Police Department. It was, it's kind of hard to split hairs here, but it wasn't officially towed by the Suffolk County Police Department, which I guess is a good thing because, they don't get to search it at that point. There's nothing to find. But it was towed by the Suffolk County Police Benevolent Association, the police union. They had it towed. They didn't have the keys. So they had to put it on, they had to take off the drive shaft or whatever and then put it back on and all these different things. Yeah. So they towed it the next day. And the problem was that there's a diesel generator inside the billboard truck that powers the LED screens all around it. So they didn't turn that off because they don't know how to do it, and they wouldn't go back there anyway, I guess. But it was running the whole night. So, I've been told by some people that a diesel generator could have problems if it just runs out of and it stops like that. I don't know much about generators or engines or anything like that, so I don't know. But I was told it could have a problem, but
Banning's a country boy. He could tell you.
So, you're never supposed to run a diesel empty, and then you have a fuel delivery problem. pump problem, and it can cost some money to get it fixed if it happens to break on you.
Yeah, it's an expensive generator. So, I mean, we'll see. I'm going to fill it up with diesel, and, I guess I'll call some sort of it's kind of hard. I don't know anybody that works on, generators, but maybe a mechanic I know or something. But I won't start it until I gotta see. At the end of the day, if it breaks, I got to pay for it, and eventually the PBA will be paying for it. So
yeah. See, and this is part of the problem with how the system runs. Is the old famous saying, you can beat the rat, but you're not going to beat the ride. And that seems to be what was here. We had POP, which is classic for pissed off police, for those that aren't used to the vernacular. And so your classic pissed off police, ego took over. You're not going to tell us. Again, I did not see a violation in your video. I saw a person that was told to leave, that decided to leave and continued to do so, gets arrested. Now, they're putting you in cuffs. They took your cameras. Did they shut them off?
Yeah, the treasurer, CJ Hunter, he took my camera and he shut it off. Yeah, and they didn't have any body cameras or anything. So that was kind of like a dead spot until the treasurer actually began recording with his cell phone. Once I told the union president I was going to put my billboard, I said, now I'm going to put my billboard truck in front of your house. And he's like, oh, you're threatening me? Start recording him. And then that's when the treasurer started recording me. And as soon as he started recording me, I'm hunched over. Cuffs are tightest I've ever had, and I've been in a lot of handcuffs. Tightest I've ever. It was excruciating, really. And so I'm bent over, and I look into the camera. I'm like, I'm Sean Paul Reyes. I was just unlawfully arrested, and I start narrating this whole thing to their camera or whatever. And they're going back and forth trying to debate me. It was like 10, 15 minutes. I was like that. In those conditions with those handcuffs like that, because they would not loosen them. I was begging them to. Eventually the uniformed officers did, who were actually very nice. They eventually did. But yeah, so there's going to be a recording that comes out of we were arguing back and forth about the arrest, the misconduct, everything.
Yeah. Well, I told you that one question to keep in mind for your attorney later. One that the public should know, that I think they should know, is if he recorded that on his phone, it's open to discovery now.
Yeah, I would assume. Well, I did my part already, because the PBA issued a statement immediately after this, and they reached out to the New York Post. So the New York Post put out an article about this arrest within hours of it taking place, and then so basically they covered it. So they made a statement where they said that I went there with the intentions of threatening and intimidating PBA members. That I went there to illegally trespass. So I'm considering a defamation lawsuit against the PBA itself. But for now, I already sent them a demand letter, a retraction letter with a litigation hold. So, and I specifically noted in the letter that I want them to preserve the video evidence that CJ Hunter, the treasurer, recorded. Because now if they delete it or lose it or something like that, that's going to be used against them in the lawsuit. But as far as your question about discovery, I would assume it's a good question. I've actually talked to my lawyer about this, and I don't know if the treasurer is active law enforcement or not. I'm assuming he is, because he participated in the arrest. So to me and to my lawyer, when he participated in the arrest by turning off my camera and grabbing me with the president, he's now a law enforcement officer, and therefore that recording he's taking is now not only public record, it's something that I could subpoena for this case, because 100%. The DA, let's be clear to everybody watching, the DA doesn't have to hand me over everything. They only have to hand me over what they're going to use against me in trial. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, we'll have to issue a subpoena for his phone, for his recording. But then when the law enforcement got there was body cameras rolling. So I'll be getting that as well.
Okay. So you get hooked up. How was the arrest process itself?
They drove me. It was like 15-minute drive to the 3rd precinct in Brentwood. It was the rank and file law enforcement officers here. I've never had a problem with them. As you know, why I'm on your channel right now, and my channel, but on your channel right now, right. And why we have a relationship is because I'm not somebody who is anti-police. I believe in nuance. I think that I have a lot of law law enforcement officers who I call my friends, and I think they're upstanding people with integrity. And I say that, and I get a lot of pushback from people on my channel for saying that. Not a lot, but some people on my channel for saying that. But at the end of the day, I gotta call it how it is. The problem is especially here in the Northeast, the police unions and the leadership of the department, especially when they're colluding with the politicians up to no good, covering things up to keep it from the public, violating people's rights, and the politicians are not holding the leadership accountable. So to me, it's more of a systemic problem and a culture problem in departments. It's not like on an individual basis, because when I was there getting processed, yes, there was people coming in after me that got processed before me. So I was there longer than I probably should have been, because in New York we have bail reform laws, and for a charge like this, which is criminal trespassing in the third degree, you would get what's called a desk appearance ticket and a court date and be on your way. That could take as little as like 2 hours, but I was there for 7 hours. And I know that was done on purpose, but again, I don't attribute that to the law enforcement officers who were actually processing me. Again, right. I attribute that to the union leadership. I was arrested by the PBA president, so he has a lot of pull there, and then also the leadership of the actual police department to actually drag out my processing. But as far as the rank and file guys, they were great. I have no complaints. They didn't do anything. People are like, well, they didn't do anything to help you. I'm like, what are they going to break me out of the back room? I mean, right. But they were nice. They asked me if I needed something to eat, something to drink. They were nice.
Yeah, I can't.
They're my neighbors. I got to tell people they're my neighbors. These people are my neighbors. They're my neighbors. I did my hometown police department, and again, I'm not an anti-police guy, and I have respect for my law enforcement officers here that do their job and do it right. And these guys seemed like good guys to me. If they proved otherwise, and it's so simple. It's very simple. If you prove to me otherwise, then you become a target to be exposed. It's that simple. I have no loyalty to anyone just because, if I found out tomorrow that you choked some old lady and threw her into the ground and beat her up, and I would do a video on you. I don't care on your channel. I would. It doesn't matter that we have a friendly relationship. That wouldn't matter to me.
Right. Fair enough. And Banning, you can join in on me with this one, but one of the things the reason why I bring so many First Amendment audit people on and discuss this stuff and have it on there is because I see what y'all do as a beautiful freedom. There is nothing more American than holding your government accountable, having some sort of checks and balances, and trying to balance that power out. And one of the ways you do that is simply just filming. It's not that hard. It's a First Amendment protected right that's been clearly established by the courts, especially when you're in a public place. And I look at, I know some people get annoyed with First Amendment auditors. There's a lot of cops that get annoyed with First Amendment auditors and say they're out there, they're frauditors, and they try to use this language. And I shut them down every time. I'm like, you show me another country that you can do this, that you can go and film your police departments or whoever without fear of retaliation or retribution. Now, you're supposed to be able to do that anyway. And you can't do that in other countries. You cannot do that, but you can do it here. And that's why I fight so hard to try to wake my own people up on that aspect of it. And Banning has joined in on the same thing. Banning, what's your thoughts on it?
I've got a lot of thoughts on it, and what you do, Sean. I've been following you for a long time as well, and hats off to what you do. And yes, some of the people that watch us, but as a cop, yeah, absolutely, as a cop, we have to. And I attribute when I share somebody new that maybe hasn't seen your platform, I said I want you to watch this new kindergarten class, because it's like the cops are the kindergartners in this thing. You're the teacher coming in, and sometimes we have to have some hard lessons, and that needs to be learned. And it's reality. And I love the fact that you're doing this because of people like you. We don't realize how long as a country, how many times has our rights been taken from us illicitly, and this is opening up a big picture to that. And I had a question on top of. I mean, you might be able to answer. Maybe your attorney can shed some light on it. But is the union up there? Is it held under a 501c3? Or is it a LLC? Is it a corporation? Do you know how they hold that?
I do not know. I should know that, but I definitely don't know that. I know it's .org, so they're an organization. Like they're they're not it's not a commercial business or whatever. So I don't know if they're like a nonprofit or how they're exactly labeled. might be a nonprofit. All I know is they put money in politicians' pockets and they defend bad cops and they leave the good cops out to dry.
Sure. and something else just to, and I'm sure your attorneys, I mean, you guys have been doing this and thinking about a lot of things, but I haven't seen that part of the video that you and Erica were just discussing on the actual when they took you into custody, and that there was I believe it was the treasurer that was videoing, and then got involved with it. You know, if he wasn't on duty, that could also be considered what's called posse comitatus. If he's either asked to help and or volunteers to help and put himself into the capacity at that time,
Right.
and then he's blanketed under the policies and procedures of law enforcement. And I'm sure you guys have already, but these are the type of things that just kind of go through my head. But
yeah, that's what it's looking like. That he's, they were all acting in their official capacity. Even the president pulls out his badge, and the president of the police union pulls out his badge, and he's like, I'm a law enforcement officer. So he identified himself as a law enforcement officer to me. It made no difference whether he's the union president or a law enforcement officer. I fear no man, and at the end of the day, I fear no cop that when I'm not breaking the law. So, I mean, and I just want to say, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you, Banning. I appreciate you, Eric, because you guys, I know in your comment section, you guys, I've seen it myself. You guys take a lot of heat. You get a lot of messages from people from bringing me on, from, talking about these things and criticizing law enforcement officers. I've heard from, Matt Thornton, there's you guys, there's some serious pushback to this. People don't want to open their mind and be critical thinking. Like, they just think that I hate the police and I'm just trying to bait the police into anything. And at the end of the day, police bait people into crimes all the time: prostitution stings, drug busts, people, they do it all the time. So,
and they catch their own doing it.
Right. They catch their own doing it. Right. So, I don't think it's that big of I don't really mind the word bait. If you want to use that word, I really don't mind it. It's what you need to call it, though, is a First Amendment protected activity. And if you don't use your rights, you will lose them. And it's important to, it's a power checking balance. I check law enforcement's power, and make sure that they're following the Constitution. And when they're not, and when they're engaged in this sort of misconduct, my followers have given me a big platform. My followers and supporters have given me a big platform to able to expose it to the world and fight back. Because as you said earlier, the process is the punishment, right? That 7 hours in lockup that I sat there, my back hurting, I didn't get no sleep that night, $1,000 to get my billboard truck out of the tow truck company the next day, out of impound the next day, $1,000, probably like $5,000 to $10,000, probably $10,000 for a lawyer. So again, that's the process that an everyday American would have to go through and spend all of this money, $15,000. And then, yeah, you might win in the end and you might get your $15,000 back in 2-3 years in a lawsuit. But what do you do for right now when you need to hire the lawyer? You need to get your truck out. You need to get your car out. That's the process, is the punishment. But what Lou Civillo, the union president, and what most law enforcement doesn't seem to get is that my supporters help me when these things happen. So I have a big community around me that I don't have to put all the money up myself. And the process isn't the punishment for me. It's going to be for you. At the end of the day, I knew he made the biggest mistake that he made, because now, at the end of the day, I showed you about the New York Post even turning on him. I was telling you about that offline.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he made a mistake, and I know he made a mistake, and I think he knows he made a mistake, and it's just unfortunate because he puts my police department, my hometown police department, in such a bad light, paints them in such a bad light, and he's gonna have to take what that comes with.
Yeah, and I'm glad you pointed out, like, we do get a lot of shit. That is absolutely what happens. We get it from both sides. We get the fuck the police crowd. Especially having you on, I've seen it flying through the comment section. I'm like, okay, that's fair. Like, I can't discount your experiences with police, and I don't expect you to look at me and say, well, he's different. You don't know me. If you don't know me, then it is what it is. But at the same time,
get to know him.
Yeah, try to get to know me. But at the same time, we get people that get pissed off because I have you on, and they're like, "Oh, and they're calling you all the names in the book,
I get it,
auditor, felon, all these stupid things." What does it matter? I've had a person that was convicted of homicide on here. I've had people that were wrongly convicted of homicide. Nobody had a problem when I talked to them.
But yeah, he brought that up. He brought that up in the holding cell, trying to taunt me about it. And I told him what I tell everybody. At the end of the day, 15 years ago now, almost 15 years ago now, I made a bad decision. I took ownership as a man. I paid the price as a man. Since I've taken ownership, I've come out and I've achieved great success. I've worked with police departments, district attorneys' offices. Again, I don't understand how you can paint the narrative that I hate police or have a vendetta against the police when I literally come on police programs like this. I've been on other police channels as well, and I bring police officers, active, retired, whatever, it doesn't matter, onto my channel, prosecutors, and I travel free of charge to go to these law enforcement agencies to do ride-alongs, to do the trainings. It's not that I'm going to teach. Maybe I would teach them something they don't know, but it's more about building that bridge and showing law enforcement officers that I'm not the enemy. And I think most law enforcement officers get it. Excuse me.
Yeah,
I got text as soon as this happened. I put this video. I got text from a bunch of different cops from New Jersey to Illinois, Florida, and they were like, "Man, that's messed up what he did to you, man. You were leaving the entire time. That's crazy." So they see it for what it is. Hopefully, the rank and file officers here in Suffolk County see it for what it is. Because I don't need to go to war with the whole police department over this. I'm not trying to. This is my home. I have a family, and they can do a lot of things to try and hem me up.
And to your point, and this is what pisses me off, is they want people to go to jail, right? Because they did something wrong. And when they do, they're like, yeah, that's justice, right? But when does that stop? When do people need to make their mind up? Do you want reform? Because you're a great example.
I'd like to call it redemption.
Yeah, you paid your dues.
Right. I like to call it redemption. I think this country is a country of redemption, and I think that you can make a mistake. At the end of you can make. I don't even like to call it a mistake, bad decision, because a mistake is like I dropped something, right? No, but it's crazy, because if they were held accountable, and I told him to his face, I said, what's the difference between me and you, Lou? The difference is all of the crazy criminal stuff that you've ever done, including what you just did to me, you've never taken accountability as a man, and you've never had to pay for anything that you ever done. That's the difference between you and me. And that's what built my character. That's what made me the man I am today. I wouldn't be the man I am today if it wasn't for it. And I help people. I try and give counseling to people. I was talking to people, and there was this drunk 18-year-old kid that was there for assaulting his mother. And I'm trying to talk to this kid. I'm like, listen, man, this is not the way for you. This is going to lead you down a very bad path. Can't be doing this. He's like, well, screw the police. All the police's fault. And that was never my attitude when I was arrested. That was never my attitude. I always, wow, I'm an idiot. That was my attitude from the start. You don't blame law enforcement when you break the law. I blame law enforcement when I don't break the law and they arrest me. That's when I blame law enforcement. But yeah, I'm moving on to bigger and better things. And, I think the last 5 years have proved, my integrity, my character. You're always going to have haters. If you don't have haters, there's people that, threaten me, threaten my family all the time in my DMs. And what a sad existence they must live to, I'm just some talking head on YouTube, man. You don't know me. You know nothing about me, dude. Like, why waste that energy and that hatred against me? I don't know. Like, why am I that important to you? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Welcome to being a cop, because it's the same.
And I get it. And that's what I tell people. I tell people all the time, like, they're like, how do you've been violated so many times by cops, like men in uniform, and yet you're so cordial when you talk to a cop. Is because I can rationally separate that Fahey is Fahey, Sergeant Levin, and you guys are different people. Right. And I need to, no matter what cop comes in front of me, I'm going to give you the chance, like I'd give anybody else, whether you're a cop or not, that I'm meeting for the first time. Hi, sir. How are you? What's going on? How you doing? And unless you treat me in a way that's, violating my rights, or, you engage in sort of misconduct, I have no problem with you whatsoever.
Yeah. I love that about you, brother. I really do. Because it's important. And I think it's one of the things that Banning and I kind of talk about all the time is with our channel is I don't necessarily think that we're different cops than a lot of cops we work around. I don't. But when we see example after example after example doing this the last 5 years, it's opened up my eyes. Like, okay, the view is not what I thought it was. There's a lot of problems, and that's why we do what we're doing. Is we're trying to help mitigate some of these issues that we're seeing. And I can't fix the world, y'all. And I try to tell people that all the time. Like, I can only do what I can do using these platforms. And you can attest to this, Sean, is like, it's helpful. It helps people learn things, and you can reach a much more people than you could by yourself in your little fishbowl.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to keep doing. And if people, like you said, the haters come out. You can hate all day long. I've stayed the course on my mission. Sean, you've stayed the course on your mission. And how many years have you been doing it now?
5 years since 2021. Yep,
So
March 2021.
My 5 years has not been as successful as yours, but we're getting there. But you know, I do appreciate what you've been doing. What do you got, Banning?
I'm going to say is everybody that's watching, listening tonight, the whole reason for this is education, not only for the viewers and the listeners, but for us as well. When I joined with Eric on this, I didn't know of so many of the issues out there. Of course, your YouTube is going to give to you what you put into it on searches and everything like that. And the light was kind of clicked on. It was more of an issue than I first thought it was. And now it's, you know, coming in at all angles, a lot of good stuff too, but a lot of bad stuff. And that's what this whole thing is, just so everybody understands. It's not for us, it's for the education of everybody. And we're just trying to create the bond and fill in that gap, exactly why it was started to begin with. And
we got to get cops more constitutionally minded. Yep. And one of the biggest, Sean, you trained cops. You've done it in the past, and I'm sure you can attest that. I can tell you the last time I had actual constitutional training as a law enforcement officer was in the police academy, and that is most officers that I've talked to. They go through a 1 week, a 2 week, maybe a month at a really good academy, and that's the last time they touch any constitutional training. Now, you tell me how much of the Constitution you're really going to absorb in a police academy after a month and then expect to go out in the streets and apply it. And you're going to swear an oath to something that you have very minimal knowledge of. How is that possible?
It doesn't really make any sense whatsoever, because you're right. Swearing an oath to uphold this document, you're swearing an oath that you will defend the Constitution, that you will uphold the laws of the state. And for you to not have any sort of even like an average grasp of that document or the laws of your state, just very basic knowledge. There's been cops that don't know what reasonable suspicion is. I've said, do you have reasonable articulable suspicion? And they're like, well, what's that? And that's literally the basis of any law enforcement career, is to know what reasonable suspicion is. I mean, that's how you do your job, that and probable cause, right? So, it's scary to see the lack of knowledge, and that's what happens when you're hiring people not based off of their credentials or their merit. But a lot of these officers, in my experience, from what I've seen, are getting hired because they're Joey's cousin, and they're this person, they're connected to this person. Especially here, again, in Suffolk County, it's a way different beast than a lot of other departments. The union here is insane, but they only hire people that will toe the party line, that will make sure that they're not hiring the best, most articulate, educated candidate. They're just hiring the yes man, and that's what they're going to do. And unfortunately, when you have a leadership that's that doesn't care about the Constitution, that has ego problems, that has emotional control problems, that's going to trickle down, and it's going to the one apple spoils the bunch, right? So that is the truth. That's why I say the system is bad. People get mad at me. They're like, all cops are bad. Well, I mean, I guess it depends how you look at it. If you look at it as the system is bad, then I guess everything in the system is bad. But I think some of these individual officers, like I met yesterday when I was in lockup, they were pretty sympathetic, I would say, and they were, they've talked to me about my other videos. They obviously watched the videos, and they said that they've learned things from me. So, if I helped one cop, people talk about my losses, the NYPD loss that I had recently in the court, whether I win or lose, as long as I don't give up, as long as I don't give up on my mission, as long as if I already won, if I change one cop's mind, if I changed, if I helped one person, and I know I've done that in the last 5 years, so I've already won. I'm going to continue to put out these videos, whether people watch them or not. I'm going to continue to, do these trainings and collaborate with officers like yourself, and see what comes of it, see what more I can accomplish.
Yeah. And that's how, listen, and for officers out there, like, this is literally, I was an academy instructor for a while. I'm a military cop too. So for those that don't know, I'm still in the military. Don't let the beard fool you. I have to shave it when I go do my military time, but I'm an instructor there as well. And one of the ways that we improve is by exposing gaps in training. And nobody looks at it as a bad thing when you're like, oh, I see we have a hole over here. We do what we call a debrief. That's a common vernacular in policing and in the military. And the debrief is there to expose where you screwed up. There's no rank. No, everything's off the table. Like everybody is equal rank, and you can say your piece when you're doing a debrief. Whether it is you handle a domestic and you're like, all right, hey, Banning, like, bro, you disappeared around the corner. I lost visual of you. You can't do that shit. Like, domestics are dangerous. Like, so you do these debriefs. Well, when I see that, I'm looking at a way to expose gaps in the training. And when you were literally the very first auditor, First Amendment auditor I'd ever seen. I never even heard of it until you. So when I saw your stuff, I was like, oh, okay, let me look into that. I was like, it's obviously he wouldn't do, like, guys, anybody, I'm going to look right at the camera. Anybody out there looking, like, the balls it takes to risk your freedom to go out and prove a point about your rights, like, that is one of the reasons why I love what you do so much. I don't have those balls. I can't do that. I would not do that. When I retire, I'm going to definitely do it with you, though. I want to go out there and try it. But my point being is, it takes a lot of balls to go out there and stand up for your rights. And then two, exposing those gaps in training really does help us. You just have to have the frame of mind to look at it as this helps you get better, not that it's a personal attack against you as a cop. That's not what it is. It's just exposing a gap in training that we need to fix. There's obviously a problem. It's 2026 and people are still getting arrested for the same shit that we're like, how are they getting arrested for this?
Yeah, I mean, my YouTube channel has over 500 million views. I'm sure my Facebook's got a few 100 million. So, if you add it all together, just me, without any other First Amendment order, is 1 billion views, right? And for 5 years, I've been going at it 3 videos a week. You think that, you would know, at least the basics, or at least, even if you hate, the part I don't get is, even if you hate me, whatever you want to say about me, why would you arrest me then unlawfully? Like, why would you do this? Like, all it is now we have a talk show that we're doing now. We're now analyzing the footage. All it does is give me more content, right? I mean, it gives me things to talk about. I mean, I would always have things to talk about because cops are people, and people can be bad. So that there's always going to be that factor of police misconduct. And especially when you give people some sort of power and authority, they're going to do things that, but they need to be singled out and they need to be removed immediately, not only to keep them out of that a position, but to set an example for everyone else watching. Oh, if I mess up, I'm going to get fired. And it's crazy because and it's really it's a testament to what our country is right now, is very divided. Bootlickers, you have people who love the Constitution and hate all cops and whatever. They hate tyranny. And when I came on your show last time, people were telling me that's not a real cop. You paid him. You did this. He's not a real cop. And it's like,
really?
It's crazy. Like they come up with these conspiracy theories that it makes no sense. I bring a cop because how can, and if you think about it, it's such an ignorant, thought process to have, that there can't be one cop. First of all, there's many. I would say thousands by the comments and the text, but that support me. But there can't be one cop that supports me. Like, it just doesn't make. I can't be, because they work. You know what it is that these bootlickers, they worship the badge. They worship the badge. And if a badge comes and says that, hey, I appreciate you, Sean, appreciate you for exercising your rights, they're like, oh, but I hate Sean, but I licked the boot. So like they malfunction because the only thing they could say is he's not a real cop. Because how do you square that? How do you put that together? I love cops and they're the greatest thing since vanilla ice cream, and they're our heroes. And I hate Sean Paul Reyes. I hate Long Island Audit, and he works with cops. What? And they go crazy about it. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. The accusations that, especially that, they're not like, it's really not hard, guys. Just Google my name. You'll find out real fast that I am. Absolutely. Right. It's not like I can hide it.
He just keeps his, I'm sure for big shout out to your department, whatever department it is, because they let you to do these things where you actively criticize law enforcement, and they're allowing you to have this, to exercise your freedom of speech. And they've shut officers down across the country, other departments, on social media, right? You have social media policies and things like that. And as long as you keep it separate, you have your 2 cops, 1 donut, you have your job, and you're doing great work. You're exposing the bad cops, you're highlighting the good ones. And it gives credibility when it's an active duty or even a former law enforcement officer, when somebody from behind that thin blue line comes and starts speaking up and wanting to better the profession. That carries real weight. So I really appreciate what you do, because it's one thing, I'm just some guy, right? But you guys are law enforcement officers or former, and you guys have credibility in your community.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I thank you for giving credit to my department, because I've been doing it 5 years now plus, and I have never even been pulled to the side, talked to, nothing. I've had some people be like, bro, you had Kyle Rittenhouse on? Like, what the hell? I've had some crazy guests on, but every time I think the approach that I take is kind of similar to what you do. I just stay respectful. I don't talk crazy. I don't say anything that I think is controversial. It's a difference of opinion. And I think we're allowed to have a difference of opinion and still be friends at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it comes down to is, Sean, you and I would easily sit down and have a few beers together and not have
I think the first time we talked on the phone, we talked for like an hour or 2.
Right? Hour and a half. Yeah, you were worked up.
We had a great conversation the first time we ever talked. It was a long time, I remember. But it's the problem is nobody critical thinks. Nobody has critical thinking skills anymore. No one thinks in nuance. Just because just because cops are bad doesn't mean all cops are bad, or just because law enforcement, I have big problems with law enforcement. Let me be clear. I have big problems with law enforcement. I have big problems with the culture. I have big problems with leadership in law enforcement. I have big problems with the lack of accountability, the lack of transparency, because I've seen it. You are a law enforcement officer from one state, one department, right? I've seen multiple, and I've heard from multiple law enforcement officers from across this country. I've been from everywhere from Hawaii, California, Florida, Washington State, and everywhere in between. And there's a lot of problems. A lot of these officers are like, the leadership is the problem. They're telling me like they don't back you. And if you were to say something against another officer that engaged in some sort of misconduct, you become the pariah of the department. A lot of these guys, when they retire, they immediately hit me up. I'm retiring in 2 weeks. Can't wait to tell you what I know about this department. And, I wish they would come up a little bit sooner, but, I'll take the information when I can get it. It's fine.
Yeah, no worries. I saw somebody in the comments saying Banning doesn't have much to say tonight. He didn't get a chance to see the video. It cut off for him, guys. So he's just kind of letting me lead the way. That's why I keep trying to get him to chime in when I can.
I mean, the actual relevant part of the video is very short. So, we could,
Yeah. Banning, you keep our guest company real quick while I grab that video. I had it up and now all of a sudden I can't find it.
And ever since I met you, Sean, I've always been thinking, how do we, and I say we, the law enforcement community, get you plugged in more into like these national events? Because there's national events that offers training for law enforcement, that offers different products and services for gear from whatever drone, whatever it is that law enforcement needs
like
to
convention.
get.
Right,
conventions, and I'm not going to mention any of the names of them, but I would love to see in the future to where you had an auditorium talk at all of these, to where it brings police leadership in to where they can truly see what you're doing and offer almost a curriculum for them. And I'll be quiet because I think Eric's got it ready to go.
Yeah, I'll just say really quick, I think that's a great idea, Manning. Again, I'm not an attorney. Have I learned a lot about the law? Yes, I've learned a lot in the last 5 years. I have, because some of my best friends are attorneys, and they say that I have the mind of an attorney. So take that for what it's worth. I didn't say that; they said it. So I've studied a lot about the law. I'm not a law enforcement officer. I'm not an expert in anything, but I think it would help put a face and humanize. Because I don't see. My sister always tells me this. If they knew who you were, if they knew your character, if they knew your integrity, if they knew the kind of father that you are, the type of friend that you are, the type of neighbor that you are, they would know. They couldn't hate you. and obviously there's always going to be some people that hate me, but just to get out there and meet people and meet law enforcement and meet some leadership. But the problem is that, if leadership doesn't want me snooping around and they don't want, me putting them on social media, that's why I commend the 3 departments that have invited me to do trainings, because they took a shot. They said, we're going to work with, Sean Paul Reyes. We're going to work with Long Island Audit. We're going to broadcast it to the world, and we're going to be proud of it. Even a district attorney's office. You know how weird that was for me, that a district attorney's office, these are, I spoke in front of 50 lawyers. So, and they invited me, and they wanted to hear from me. They gave me all these cool pins and stuff. I have patches from like multiple departments, those coins that you guys
challenge
have.
coins.
Yeah. I have a bunch of those that says like criminal investigator on it. Hopefully they don't think it's a badge and lock me up over it. But,
No. But you know what, brother? That's a step in the right direction, and I love hearing that. That is amazing.
Yep. Very cool. All right, Sean. Any setup on this?
Criminal and hold on, see.
This
is from the district attorney's office in Chatham County. They gave me this after I did a training with them. So, again, I love my public servants. I just want them to honor the Constitution and treat us with respect.
It's not a lot to ask.
Nope.
Not a lot to ask. So set us up. You
started
filming right here?
Yeah, no, I started filming a little bit before this, but this is the woman that she came in after me. She has something to do with a closing or something. She was late, and she was actually, it's interesting because the door was locked. I did try and open the door because I didn't know if it was locked or not. And then once I realized it was locked, I'm like, okay, it's locked. And then I rang the doorbell. But she seemed surprised that the door was locked. So I don't know if they seen me in my billboard truck, my 14-foot bright billboard truck beforehand from like one of their windows in the offices on the top floor. But they locked the door because she seemed surprised that the door was locked.
Question, and this is way off topic. Do you ever set up like a movie night at home with the kids on that?
For my kid's birthday, what I'll do is I'll put like Mario on there, and I'll
play video games.
I'll put it on. Yeah, we could do everything. It has like an HDMI, so anything with an HDMI you can do, or I'll make a graphic for my son's birthday, and it'll say like the Mario, and it'll say happy birthday. And when people come to the house for the birthday party, it's pretty cool. I use it for personal things. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's legit. Awesome. I was just curious. Yeah. Just be careful about getting loud music.
Let's see if it works. People
sneaking into your backyard. So,
right.
All right. Let's go ahead and play this.
No, I do not.
You don't? Okay.
No.
Thanks.
Sorry.
No worries. Yeah. I think there's a doorbell there.
You said 5 minutes? I just wanted to let you know I'm in the lobby, but the door's locked and the receptionist is telling me I have to wait. Okay, thanks. Does this have something to do with what you're doing?
Probably. I'm an independent journalist. I'm trying to speak to somebody regarding a story I'm working on regarding the PBA, so that's probably why, honestly. But no one has come to talk to me about anything. I told them I wanted to ask some questions.
So it's because of you, they don't want you in there?
I don't know. They haven't said anything. They haven't told me anything. They told me to wait like they told you to wait when I knocked on the door.
Security, I guess? All right, well, I'm late for a closing in there. I'm 15 minutes late, so it would be in their best interest to just let me in. I don't know what to do with it.
I know.
Maybe these
Seems
guys.
weird.
Hello. Hi.
Lou, Savello, how are you? Sure, no problem. How are you?
Under arrest.
Have you seen me leaving? I immediately began to leave. Lou Savello, would you like to come on? I am leaving. Would you like to come on the channel? I'm leaving. I am leaving. You see me leave me? I am leaving. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Lou Savello, you go on talk. You go. I'm leaving. I'm leaving.
This is the last
I'm
time
leaving.
I will tell you.
I'm leaving.
This is the
Hey,
last
you're
time
the
I
guy
will
from
tell you.
On Patrol, right? I've seen your podcast.
Leave.
What do you think I'm?
So I just want to address, I can see you in the mirror or in the reflection. You are continuously backing up. I didn't catch that the first time. So I see that. His shirt does have a patch on it. So that would make me think that he is law enforcement.
But that's a PBA patch. I'm 99% positive. That's not how the Suffolk County patch looks.
What would a reasonable person believe? You're at a police association building. This guy's wearing a shirt that has what looks like a police badge on the chest. I would kind of make me believe that that's a law enforcement officer.
Yeah, they're all cops. I'm pretty sure.
Definitely has the bill.
If you actually hear, I invite him on the channel. I say, hey, I just want to see if you want to come on the channel.
Yeah,
invite him on the channel because again, I want to have conversation. I want to have more conversations with people like Lou. I want to have more conversations with people like that, but they don't want to have the conversation because they know that they can't beat me logically. They go and they spew their propaganda. The guy behind him, the treasurer, CJ Hunter, he has a podcast called On Patrol, and where he just sits there all day and he talks about how great, I'm so proud of my department. Like it's just nonsense. That's why he gets no views, is because he's literally just spewing nonsense and propaganda. Like, why don't you talk about the real issues in law enforcement? Why don't you talk about some things that can actually help law enforcement officers that they're dealing with, not just saying that they're the greatest things since vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, I do want to address this comment that I just saw. It just happened to be sitting there. It says, it's from Chicani Toes, says, and I can't say Sarge is a bad guy. I'm assuming we're talking about me. He seems to be transparent, but I also believe any public officer shouldn't be allowed to have their own social media channels. This is the world we live in. I am not on duty right now, so I am allowed to also have my own First Amendment rights.
Right.
So completely disagree with that take. And how else are we supposed to improve law enforcement if our own people don't have the ability to use their voice and talk about law enforcement?
Right. I agree.
So, all right, let's keep going here.
What do you think I'm doing?
You are on private property.
I am leaving. So would you like to talk about the hundreds of millions of dollars? No, I'm not. Would you like to talk about the hundreds of millions of dollars that the Suffolk County law enforcement agencies have cost the taxpayer?
Leave.
What do you think I'm doing? I am leaving.
Leave.
Immediately begin to leave. That's how the law works.
Leaving.
Yes, I'm leaving.
Get off the
property.
property.
I am leaving. I am getting off the property.
You are trespassing.
I am leaving.
You will be placed.
I am leaving. I am leaving.
I'm going to place you under arrest.
Do what you need to do.
I'm identifying myself as a police officer.
So do what you need to do. I am leaving.
You need to leave.
I am leaving.
You're
such a tough guy. You're not going to do it then. Do it.
Turn around.
Do it.
You got him with, you said you're such a tough guy. That triggered it. And then you told him to do it. And that's what got this going. Is there more?
I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Not resisting. I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting.
Don't resist.
I'm leaving.
I say I'm not resisting first. And he still has to say, don't resist. It's just part of their.
It's the actions.
Because I've come make it clear every time I'm going in cuffs. I always I'm the opposite of the cop, right? The cop says don't resist. I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting. Just so we're clear.
Yeah. I love it. I want to give a shout out. We had a bunch of people donate, and I'm sorry, the chat was so crazy. I literally I saw green for a second. I'm going to assume it was Harrison because he always donates to us. So thank you. It was Harrison. Was it Harrison? Good guess. We have some very loyal community members with us, and appreciate them being able to reach out. Now we're at the hour mark, Sean. I want to respect your time, and the only question I really have is, where does it go from here?
So I have court July 15th, and I will just touch on one thing because we didn't talk about it. I think it's important and for you guys to understand too. I was charged with criminal trespassing in the 3rd degree. It's a class B misdemeanor. Here in New York State, we have there's more serious criminal trespassing, but irrelevant to what we're talking about here. It's usually in somebody's home and something like that. But the only trespassing charge it's not a crime, it's a violation. It's like an infraction. That's the only one that doesn't require a fence or a gate or enclosed in manner, because when they handed me the desk appearance ticket, right on it says you're being charged with criminal trespassing in the 3rd degree. You have court on July 15th. You have an arraignment on July 15th. But right after criminal trespassing in the 3rd, it says enclosed or fenced in. And
yours is open to the public.
Let me ask you. Let's see if you guys can know. What do you think? Do you think that, if you had to guess, do you think that the PBA's headquarters, the police union headquarters, is fenced or enclosed in any way?
No.
You'd be right. It is not. So again, it is literally, so in New York, that particular, and they do it because they don't want to charge me with the infraction, right? They don't want to charge me with a violation, right? They want to charge me with the misdemeanor. So because they want to charge me with the misdemeanor that carries up to 6 months in jail, they overlook, I guess intentionally, I don't know if they can't read or anything, because it's literally right on the paper, enclosed or fenced in. So that's one of the main statutes. That's one of the main elements in that statute. So that charge, just even if I didn't leave, even if I did remain, that charge wouldn't be viable in this case. Even if I just stood there and said, I'm not leaving, I'm staying here, that charge wouldn't go forward anyway. That if I stayed, the appropriate charge would be the infraction of trespassing, a simple trespass.
Yeah.
That would be the correct charge in this case. But as we know, I left, so neither of them are. So, I've court July 15th. I've already hired an attorney, Jacob Uriel, former Brooklyn district attorney. He's represented me on a bunch of cases here in New York, from the NYPD, Nassau County, now Suffolk County. So, I'm glad to have a case that is close to me. Not glad to have a case, but I'm glad to have a case that is close to me at least. I don't have to travel to Connecticut or New York City or, a whole different state. I'm right in my backyard. To go to court is like a 15-minute drive for me, 15-minute drive. So it's not that big of a deal. I'll show up. Yeah. And I'm hoping that the district attorney here, who is elected, his name's Ray Tierney, he, no pun intended, he actually is, I did a video, his law enforcement arrested really a judge, pressed charges on this activist. He's part of Americans for Legal Reform, and he's a supporter of mine, charged him with harassment for filming a judge outside of the courthouse. And I did a video, and I called on the district attorney to drop the charges. And even though they were fighting back and forth this entire time, the minute I did the video and I showed the video and I expressed my opinion on it, the next day, the guy actually hired my attorney, Jacob Uriel. Jacob calls me, says, hey, the DA just called me and they're dropping the charges against this guy. So they've been,
nice.
They've done the right, when it's been brought to his attention, he's done the right thing in the past. So I'm going to assume that he's going to do the right thing this time. And it's a very clear and cut case of there's no crime here. So I'm hoping that he just, declines to prosecute. I can move forward with the federal lawsuit, get some depositions in, hold them accountable through the civil side of it.
Yeah. Okay. I do have more questions, but I don't want...
You could ask.
You good? Okay. The one thing is he reached out to the paper, or at least you think he did.
Right. I mean, I will say the New York Post doesn't make it a habit to, it's the New York Post. They don't make it a habit to cover me. So, it's a pretty pro law enforcement paper, right? So I'm assuming, 2 hours after the handcuffs were on, the New York Post, wrote an article about this. So I'm assuming he had a contact that he contacted. Yeah.
Which your paperwork obviously had not been completed. Otherwise you wouldn't have been sitting at a table for 7 hours.
Right.
So I doubt that was the case. Right. Now in that, what were the claims in the New York Post, the first one, versus the claims that countered it in the second?
Well, I will say the New York Post, for, to its credit, or, just to speak facts, they didn't really allege anything. They were just they quoted the union president. So obviously they spoke to him because he called them, I'm assuming. And they spoke to him, and he said that I threatened to go to his house, that I came there and I threatened to go to his house. But he said that I threatened to go to his house when I got there. I didn't threaten to go to his house. I told him I was putting a billboard. He left the billboard truck part out, of course, but I didn't threaten anything. I told him I told him, I did a live stream the other day. I told him, listen, I'm still going to put the billboard truck for me. It's not a threat. It's going to happen. Just wait. But he had made it seem like I was threatening to come to his house, and I threatened them. And then, I was there to intimidate them and illegally trespass and all these lies. And the New York Post just kind of like regurgitated it. They didn't, obviously I was in lockup when they wrote it. They couldn't reach me for comment, but they wrote the article, and it was, I don't think it was, I think they could have gotten comment from me, or at least somebody, or at least something. But to their credit, they wrote it. They just sent it to you offline. They did write another article today. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, and from what I saw, it basically countered exactly what the initial statement was.
Yeah, they linked to my video in the article. I appreciate that, New York Post. Thank you. They linked to my video in the article, and then they go down further in the article, and they say, based on the video footage, it seems that it doesn't align with the statements that the police union made. Mr. Reyes never threatened anyone while he was when he originally went there. He never threatened anybody, and he was leaving the property. So they actually kind of turned on the police union. So this kind of backfired on him for him reaching out, trying to get ahead of this, because I'm assuming that's what he was trying to do, because he doesn't have a platform like mine, of course, and he can't just go live and talk to thousands of people. He has to go to New York Post and everything else. And he was trying to get ahead of it, and it backfired on him. And now there's a negative New York, not a negative, just telling the truth. They saw the video. What are they going to do? They saw the video. They saw that I was leaving. They saw I didn't threaten to go to his house, or at least, until I was already in cuffs.
Yeah. Fair. All right. Sir. I could keep going.
I appreciate you guys. No, I appreciate you guys. Yeah, no, I got to go to sleep. But I appreciate it. Yes, I love talking to you guys. Well, it's kind of weird. You're already on the channel technically, so I don't need to bring you on the channel. But I'll bring you on the channel in a more official way in the future. I'd love to get your guys' takes. If you guys come across any interesting body camera footage, I'd love to take a look at it on your channel with you guys. We'll work it out, because I really appreciate what you guys are doing, because I think it's important to have actual law enforcement officers come out and speak out against the bad ones, because a lot of them, they remain silent. As nobody wants to speak about these things, and it's important. It doesn't make you a sellout. It doesn't make you anti-cop or a traitor to your job. You're doing your job honorably, and people should respect that. And you're highlighting the bad cops that are giving your profession a bad name. And it's important, not just as a cop, but as a citizen, to hold power to account. I think it's probably the most patriotic thing you can do, is to make sure that power is in check, whether that's cops. I tell cops all the time, I get it, people hate you, but you could have been a firefighter. Let's be real. Nobody hates firefighters. So
right.
You could have been a firefighter. You could have done things differently. You could have been an EMT. You chose to be a cop. The fuck the police song came out a long time ago. We know people hate the police, right? So it is some people just hate the police, and it is what it is.
I won't lie, I work out to it. So
I love that song too.
It's great.
I play it every time I go by a cop, but they usually give me the thumbs up. They're like, they like it. They're like, oh, okay.
I want my crowd and Banning's crowd out there. I want to make sure, if you guys have never seen Long Island's page, I got it up, his YouTube channel. Please make sure you go like, follow, subscribe. He is on every platform, but YouTube is probably the most vital one that you can go to. So please make sure you guys go to Long Island Audit and check him out. I'm going to stop sharing that. I'm going to go big screen. And I'm just going to thank you, Sean. I appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. You're welcome back anytime. If you want to discuss things further, you obviously know my platform.
We'll check in after my court date. So we'll see how that happens. Or after the protest. I'm going to be going live on July 1st on 1 p.m. the police union headquarters. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully nothing nothing crazy happens on that day. But it's just going to be a peaceful protest. My supporters are peaceful. I'm peaceful. We don't use vulgarities. We don't do any of that. You could, and I want to make it clear, I'm not diminishing anybody who curses at the police and says, you fucking dirty pig or whatever. You can say whatever you want. A cop, or any man really, or any person should be able to handle words thrown at them. If you can't,
especially if you're doing this job,
right? Especially if you're a cop, but anybody really should be in control of your emotions, that somebody can call you, a dirty jackboot pig and whatever. And you should be able to hold that down and just, go about your day. You shouldn't let it affect your whole day. You should just, what does it matter? People call me names all the time. I still go home to my beautiful family. I have good friends like Eric and Manning here. So, I'm not really worried about it too much. So, but I appreciate anybody who's watching on my channel. Make sure you guys hit the like button and share this video as well. But make sure you guys check out Two Cops One Donut. Go check their channel out. They're doing good work. They review body cam. If you like body camera footage, if you want to hear from cops' perspectives on certain law enforcement situations, go check out their channel. I'm a viewer of their channel. I'm a supporter. I'm a subscriber. So I encourage you to do that. I think it's it's good to see both sides of it, and they have pretty good takes. I'm sure we don't agree on everything, but so is life, right?
That's right. Doesn't mean we can disagree and still be friends, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Sean. We're going to stay on for everybody else that's watching. We were going to discuss. I want to just kind of poke Banning's brain a little bit about what you're going through, Sean. So, but you go.
I will watch later. I'm going to bed, but I will watch it later. I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts on the whole.
No worries. Thank your wife for letting us borrow you.
No worries.
We appreciate your time, Sean. Thanks.
Take it easy.
Take care, Banning. Bye, guys.
And we'll wait for Sean to bounce out. Okay, there he goes. Okay, so banning. We know what happened. Now you got to see the video. You saw what happened. You were a cop not that long ago either. I think you're still a reserve cop, right?
No, I went full retired.
Did you go full? Okay. Yeah. Never go full retired. So you're retired, but you know how to work a criminal trespass.
Sure.
What do we have to do? We have to tell them the owner of the property has to say that you're not welcome on the property.
Right.
Even if there's signs posted. If it's open to the public, like that facility is, if it's open to the public, then we have to still afford them the ability to leave. And as long as they are in a continuous, I don't even know what the word would be.
They're continuously moving.
They're continuously moving. They're not, not putting their heels in the sand or anything like that. It doesn't matter if they're slow going, fast moving. Moving's moving. And as long as they're going, then that's it. So if this is you or me and we're handling the call, I can tell you how I would have handled it. Hey, brother, you got to go. You're not welcome here. And then I would have went back in the building.
Yep.
Because if I come back down and you're still there, well, I've already told you, I've notified you, you're not allowed here.
Exactly.
And now it becomes criminal trespass.
Right.
It's just a civil thing before that. So,
and you may have to come back out and remind them, hey, that includes the sidewalk up into this point or the property up to this point. Let's go ahead and get out of here, and then just treat him as you would anybody else.
Right. And here's what I don't understand. It's his county. It is everybody knows who the fuck he is. It's not like it's a big surprise. He knew who that guy was. That president, I don't know him from Adam, but he knew who Long Island was. And he still went down that path with him. I don't get it. That's ego. This is one of the biggest problems we have in law enforcement is letting our ego take over. And that was, to me, and I'm speculating, but Jesus, how hard is it to say you got to go and then go back inside? Why did you have to stay with him the entire time? Let him keep asking you questions, keep backing him up. And the moment he said something about you being tough and go ahead and do it, then you couldn't let him call your bluff. You couldn't have just been like, look, I don't want to arrest you. That's what I would have said. I know I said I was going to. I don't want to. De-escalate. Get him out of there. If you don't want him on your property. I like the opportunities to talk. Obviously.
Do you remember what day that this happened, the actual event itself, the one we just covered?
I don't know, to be honest. I think at least a week ago, maybe? No, not even a week ago. Because he posted that. Let me look. I'm just looking at his homepage, trying to see when he posted that video. No, I'm not sure. It wasn't that long. Maybe 3 days ago.
I'm just curious on how the New York court system in that county is how long it's going to take to actually get the day of where he's actually going to get to go to court.
Yeah, I don't know. Looking at the comments, somebody said as long as they're retreating, Fussner. That's a good way to put it. As long as he's continuing to retreat, absolutely. But no, man, I'm just like, this is my frustration with law enforcement. My own people is like, get your ego out of it. Like, you didn't even have to go down there. You could have sent somebody else, but you wanted to go down yourself, which, okay, I respect that. But just talk to people, man. It doesn't have to be all that.
Yeah. And I just, we always go back and probably say it at least on every live episode. We're in 2026. Why are we, I love Sean, but how does he still have the ability for content? Why isn't the training?
You shouldn't have the ability to have content.
No.
That's the point, is you got guys like SVJT, I think that's saying, no, SJVT. I always mess up his acronym. Otto the Watchdog, HBO Matt, is it Jeff Gray? Jeff Gray, I think so, the homeless vet sign guy, honor your oath. He doesn't even talk. He doesn't even talk, y'all. He just holds a sign that says, God bless our veterans, or God bless homeless vets, or something to that effect. And he still gets arrested. Like, if them doing it can't wake up cops, we've got to use our voice to talk about this stuff. It's poor training. That's a part of it. I think training's a huge part of it. I think ego is a big part of it. I think terrible police culture is a part of it at certain departments, and just racking up my brain like.
Well, this is just such an easy fix. If you sit back and you dissect it, just piddly old me looking at something, this is easily fixed in the academy and then ongoing training throughout the officer's career to where this is not going to be an issue. It all comes back to the Constitution. It's like, and I know a lot of, cops get bent out of shape, people get bent out of shape. It's got to be mandatory, basically and I hate overreach, from the government, but we have a big problem here that's obvious. It's getting identified in some areas and it's getting better in some areas, but it's probably getting worse in others. I don't have the statistics on everything, but again, 2026, why the hell are we still seeing videos that are filmed yesterday or last week? This should be common knowledge now.
We see that. We see it with people getting ID'd, officers forcing ID when they don't have a right to somebody's ID. That happens all the time. And I didn't get in an argument, but I had to make a point. There's one of these pages that I follow on Instagram, and I'm not going to say who it is. I don't want to blow them up or anything like that. But they had a video where they were just like, 99.9% of cops are out there doing the right thing. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, man, I remember when I used to buy into that ideology, and I'm like, that's not true. I think cops are seeing 99.9% of cops aren't out there doing like viral, like corruption newsworthy things where they're out murdering people and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not going to fall into that category. But are we screwing up every day? Yeah, across the nation, we're screwing up every day. When we can't handle a trespass, we're trying to force everybody to ID when it's not legally allowed. They're not even they don't even have legal obligation to your ID. It's crazy. Like, it's the simple things. And those simple things, they accumulate and they add up. And that's, I think, is the frustration of the public. They're like, it would be nice if the cop wasn't trying to force me to ID in this situation, or putting their foot in my doorway, or, doing all these little things. I mean, when you really look at it, it's not little. You're violating somebody's rights, and we got to get better at it. We got to be willing to admit we're screwing up. That's the big part. Yeah, admit there's an issue.
It's got to be fixed. But like I was saying earlier, I would love to see some of these large organizations invite Sean out, invite a few others out. Why not? Look at our top levels of these law enforcement agencies, sheriffs and police departments, get to do a Q&A with Sean. Put your ego aside, as we were just talking about. Do a Q&A with a guy that's out there doing this on a weekly basis. And how can they make their departments better through attrition, and then slowly get the information out here and get these freaking officers trained.
Yeah, I agree. I was just about to say, I think our chat will slow down a little bit. I expected a bunch of people to dive out of here when Sean left. Obviously, I don't expect his crowd to want to have to stick around and listen to us, but we do appreciate it if you do.
Absolutely.
But it's still, man, the chat's still blowing up. I was trying to let our community know, like, I am trying to get to the comments. They have slowed down a lot. So really appreciate that. So that's what I'm doing right now. One of the things, guys, that don't know, we really engage a lot with the comments. So Sergeant Eric and get an interview with Brandon Grable. Yeah, clearly established. We are trying to get Brandon on. That's coming. We actually, me and Sean and Banning we were doing what ifs, and what we think would be kind of cool to do is get Southern Draw Law, which we had on our last show, get Sean, me, and then maybe one other, Mr. Grable, and from Clearly Established, and try to get that going to discuss his case, this most recent arrest, and kind of get some attorney's point of view. Now, for those that don't know, Southern Draw Law is a former cop, so that makes a big difference. That's a different perspective. That's unusual.
Eric, I'm thinking this would be a great, if we could set this up as a live with all subjects in the podcast studio. Could you just envision that?
Oh yeah, have them over.
You know what I mean?
That'd be legit.
Have everybody's channels on there, and then after we get to talk for a while, do a true Q&A with the audience.
Yeah, we could have the chat right on the TV while we're going. We've done it before. Yeah, for those who don't know, we can do a live in my studio here. I just need Sean to fly out. He's the only one. Well, no, Southern's out in Tennessee, so he'd have to make a trip too. But I think he's coming out here for something.
Yeah, I think he said something.
I think when we were chatting, I think he said he's going to be making a trip out to Texas. But yeah, so man, how do we improve? How do we get better from here? This is the whole point of what our show is. So for me, one is understanding ego, understanding when it triggers, getting cops trained in it, constitutional led training, constitutional minded policing. It is not as prominent as it should be. And like Bannon and I discussed earlier, when it comes to training, police are not getting trained on the Constitution. They get case law stuff. They'll get updated case law stuff on arrest, search, and seizures because that happens quite a bit. But man, the Constitution is something you swore an oath to, and we should be getting that over and over and over. Annual. It should be annual training about the Constitution.
Yep.
And I just don't understand how it's not. And I do want to clarify too that even when you get trained in there's a reason that lawyers, they don't just get trained in the law. They have to go and actually get training in court, because reading the law and knowing the law, like just by reading it, is totally different than trying to practice it to an actual case. And it's the same for cops. Just because we're learning, some case law stuff, and we're learning, basic theft and homicide and all the other, crimes that we have to deal with, property crimes and all that stuff. Like, we're not law experts, but every crime is different, even when it's the same crime. I can go deal with one robbery and then at the 7-Eleven, and then go down to a week later and I'm dealing with a robbery at that 7-Eleven again. And then I start hearing the elements and come to find out, it's more of just theft from person. It wasn't even an actual robbery.
Big difference.
In our state, there's different elements to that. Even though it's the same place, it's the same call details. We get there and we find out there's more to it. And we're like, oh, that's kind of a theft from person. And that's just how we have to deal with it. And then the prosecutor can look at the case and go, no, because they know more about the law than we do. And they're going to be like, no, this is robbery. I'm going to put this down as robbery. And they're like, oh, okay. So
they're the ultimate ones that are taking it in.
Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking through the comments. KP Nation said, why aren't these cops trained on the most common issues they're going to run into, like trespass, RAS, photography, video, etc.? I can't. There's such a disparity in training between department to department. It's so weird. Like, highly trained where I'm at. Right next door, we just had a cop arrest somebody for something that is, we know you don't do. So I don't know. I don't understand how there could be that big of a difference in the training from where we're at to next door. And then it could be that officer just doesn't pay attention, to give a shit, doesn't treat this like a profession, doesn't strive to improve. I mean, honestly, that's kind of what we do here. Ooh, that's a really bad comment. Abolish officer discretion. Mike Webb, you don't want that, brother. I promise you. If you get rid of officer discretion, everybody goes to jail. Everybody they deal with goes to jail. You're going to overload the system. Discretion's definitely one of the better things you can have. You don't want to get rid of it. What you want is accountability on discretion. That's what you want. So, and what I mean by that is, like, one of the things that I've been pushing for a long time is, if you're going to, as the DA, if you're going to dismiss a case, I think that should be a public log, and you need to put your reasons why you're dismissing it. Because if it's because the cops didn't do their job, that needs to be known. If it's because you got an overworked caseload and you don't feel like doing that case because it's not as strong as you want, well, I don't like that, and you need to tell people that too.
Yep.
So, I don't know. What do you think, baby?
Yeah. Well, that glass door's got to be open at the DA level, judge level as well too. And we hear, especially for what we're doing on this show, is we hear constantly about law enforcement, and that is 100% correct. But we've got to get the entire trifecta, if you will. We got to get the DAs, we got to get the judges. I mean, we've got the transparency has got to be 100%.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm a little annoyed tonight that we had some cops in the comments saying like, how could you have that felon on? I've had many a felon on the show. Why can I not have conversations? How are we supposed to, like, that's so asinine. I just can't, I don't understand. Country Girl, I don't know if you saw my response. She was asking if I had saw some video from the Random Patriot or something like. I have not seen it. I see Sean got called out by a captain in Ohio when he was bragging he trained the PD near his. Captain said, Captain said, town or city, and Sean didn't know. He'd only trained 2 PDs, Bergen PD in New Jersey and 1 in Ohio only. So, Country Girl, oh my God. He's what all chiefs should be. Sorry, I haven't seen it. She's going to jump my shit tonight, I guess. Well, I've been missing the last few streams. Banning got an upgrade on the mic. He got an upgrade on everything, y'all. He got a better camera. He got a good mic. He got it all going on. I like it. Eric, you seen James Madison audit? That does sound familiar, but I'm not 100% sure, y'all. Mr. Billfold in the house. I'm sorry, you guys. I tried to get to my community tonight and let them and give you shout outs. It just was doing this like the whole night. I couldn't. We didn't have Alan tonight. Deadleg, I don't know where he went. He was with us and then he just disappeared. So we had no mods. Let me take that back. We had nobody on the restream to help us with that part of it.
Right.
But our mods have been here all night and they've been kicking ass. Shout out to our mods for sure. Thank you very much for your help. Mr. Billfold said, I think that if you swear an oath to the Constitution in order to carry a badge and a gun and cannot recite the First Amendment and you are a proven piece of shit professionally, then you are a proven piece of shit. I don't think that's unfair. I definitely don't expect you to know the Third Amendment, but if you do, it's a fun bonus. That's my favorite one to go to. I'm like, all right, rookie, give me the 5 elements of the First Amendment. And then, they usually do pretty good. And then you get them on the, all right, the most important one, the Third Amendment. Tell me. And they're like, oh.
And is your restream like mine is, I know mine's a different one than yours, but mine on the right will put in 1050 new ones really quick and then it freezes. Then it blurs, then it resets. Is that what yours is doing?
I just think it's because we have so many people on tonight.
Right.
Yeah, I just think it's not designed for this big influx. Yeah, Long Island's people, man, we really appreciate everybody jumping on. And quite a few have stuck around. We're still at around 1,200 people. So holy shit, I can't believe that. So let's do what we haven't done in a while, Banning. I think we kind of beat this dead horse here talking about this. Should we jump on we haven't looked at police activity in a long time. We haven't broke down
let's take a look.
A video. For those that don't know, when we do show body cam video stuff on here, we've never seen it. If one of us happen to see it, then we'll discuss it. We'll tell you that we've seen it before. But other than that, we know nothing about the call. So I'm trying to find one that I haven't seen yet, just based on the. These are all very long. Sorry. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. Pull this guy up. We'll unmute. I'm going to share the screen. All right. Shout out to police activity. They've got 6.9 1 million subscribers. So make sure you like, follow, subscribe to those guys. They are putting out good work and they do all the FOIA requests to get these videos. So it says on 6/4/26, deputies responded to a domestic violence call. After an investigation, they attempted to make an arrest. All right, let's hit play here.
Okay. So what's going on?
What's going on, bub?
How you doing?
Huh? Don't touch me, man.
Come here.
Don't touch me, dog. Don't touch me. Hey, man, don't touch me.
We're fighting one.
Don't touch me, bro. Back your...
All right. So far, I would have told this guy that he's under arrest. If that's what we're attempting to do. I'm not hearing any verbal commands right now, so that does make things a little more challenging. And right now, it's kind of a Benny Hill scene because nobody was set up in a good position. Not trying to Monday morning quarterback these guys, but this was piss poor execution on trying to make a basic arrest. Now, what I do like, Banning, and you tell me, he's wearing shorts. I don't see any weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Hands look empty. So what do?
We go hands on.
We go hands on. We earn our paycheck. We definitely outnumber him. So to me, if we got to make an arrest for domestic violence, and that's what's going on here, and all of a sudden he's deciding to fight back, well, then we're going to now go hands on. We don't need to go to our Batman belt. Not necessarily right now. Like, this is where you got to earn your paycheck. So let's keep going.
Hey, man, don't touch me. Don't touch me, bro. Back your mother.
There's no way he got through those guys right there.
Get on the ground! Give us your hand! Michael, stop it! Let go of him! Get his arm.
Okay, I like that. We got some communication going on. Get his arm. Nobody's just hauling off, beating people or anything like that. We're honestly trying to do joint manipulation. This is good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go. Hold on. Let's address what's this comment here. Suffolk PD knows who Sean is. They ignored on his video outside PD headquarters. Sean was so fake trying to engage with cops who knew to just pretend he's invisible. I don't understand that comment. Anyway, so let's keep going here. The officer that's on bottom, he's not having a good time. I guarantee that. It looks like he's stuck in a headlock of some sort.
Yeah.
I do like this comment. Brian just said, fun fact, 1 out of 3 cops are just as dumb as the other 2. Fair enough. Twitchy Skitch in the house. What's up, Twitchy? I see Tim. I am boss. What's going on, guys? I'm starting to see way more of my people. Freeman, I think I've been in the wrong chat since the beginning. I had too many links to his live. Has anyone seen my comments? It's not your fault, Freeman. There was so many comments. That was the problem.
Yep.
All right, let's keep going.
His hair!
Oh, it's still in the officer's hair.
Let go of him, Michael! Let go of me!
Not a single officer knows how to grapple.
Get off of me!
There we go. Somebody's taking a little back control.
Give us your hand!
Get your hands.
So for me, if I'm the officer that's on his back, now I am just going to do what I call riding the wave. I've done for those who don't know, done a lot of jiu-jitsu. I'm a purple belt, probably be a purple belt my whole life because I don't have the time to dedicate consistently enough to get my black belt. I've been rolling since 2006. That's why I'm a big proponent. Officers need to know jiu-jitsu. I think it's the best martial art for law enforcement because of this. We need to handle people and arrest them as peacefully as we can, trying not to hurt anybody if we can. And in this case, this would be the perfect time to use it. You're on the ground. Every non-compliant arrest is going to go to the ground anyway. So if you're an officer out there that doesn't know it, you owe it to your oath to learn it. You should not be out there in the streets not knowing how to grapple. Just
bottom line with this, the longer it goes, for those that don't know, the more dangerous it gets.
Yeah.
Hands get loose. We've got a lot of tools, meaning law enforcement are wearing a lot of tools. They're somewhat secure on belts and whatnot, but they are accessible.
Yeah.
And if you can't control ground movement or standing up movement, you can get in trouble really quick.
Absolutely. So from here, I would just a lot of hip pressure, try to push down into the guy, and then start working some arm extraction, because more than likely his arms are probably going to be pinned up underneath him now. Because I think this guy's going to try to, at least it seems this way, I'm speculating, frustrate the arrest process. But now I can see some of the comments as, you're putting your body weight down on them and they got their arms out underneath them. Yes. Understandable. But now it just becomes a slowing things down and talking through it. All right, here's what's going to happen. I am going to, relieve some weight on your right side. I want that right hand to come out. Do it slowly. The other officer, I'm going to instruct the other officer, is going to reach in and grab your wrist and put your hand behind your back. And it's just a communication thing. Act like you've been there before. It's not, this is, to me, and Banning, you've heard me say this a million times on here, this is just part of the job. Like, I'm not looking to, it's not personal, So
somebody made a great comment on there is all cops need to have a black belt in verbal judo. That is 100% correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
On every call that they go to, you've got to have a black belt.
You want to know where we screw up the most in hiring process is we have no real hiring tests for social skills and emotional intelligence. So I'm actually kind of glad that people brought that up, because tomorrow I want everybody to know if you want to see a more in-depth talk on specific topics in law enforcement, not showing videos and not doing any of that stuff, please check out the gray area. It's a little sub chapter on our Two Cops One Donut page where I break down specific topics. I think the last one I did was defunding the police. The time before that was use of force topic. But tomorrow's is going to be mandatory registry for law enforcement. So if you try to become a cop, if you're a cop and you get in trouble, all that information in that jacket needs to go into a national registry across the nation. So these rogue Ronin cops can't just float from department to department every time they get in trouble. And to extend on that, cops that get railroaded by their departments, because that does happen too, they don't get screwed. So it's kind of talking about both of those. Oh, you okay, Banning?
Yep, just one of my lights took a dive.
Okay, all right, we're gonna keep going here.
Give us your hand.
Give her your hand.
Ew. He's bleeding. Yeah. I got his hand. Careful with the gun. Yep.
If you tested for social skills, there would be no cops under 40.
Lyles, do you have the other hand? I got it. I see him. Nope.
Nah.
Nope.
Get your leg back.
Can't breathe. Can't breathe.
Then give us your hand.
Kick your leg back. Want to get his legs, Kingery?
Yep. Tell which leg go.
His other
leg. Get your leg.
I like it. They're talking. The bad guy's talking too. He's like, which leg? He's like, this leg. So they're communicating. They're not hauling off, beating on him. I like that. So far we're doing all right.
Ah!
Give him your leg.
That's my leg.
I know it's your leg. Quick.
Ah! Hey! I can't breathe.
Going to going.
Not on your neck.
No.
Quit resisting. Give us your hands.
I'm not resisting.
There you go.
Ow.
You're not cranking on him. His hands are just at the lower part of his back.
I can't breathe.
You can breathe.
Please.
Unclench your hand.
They're communicating with him.
10-4. Kill us 10-15. No, it didn't have to be like this.
You know, I honestly don't have a problem with that arrest.
Mm-mm.
The domestic violence call, they determined that he's under arrest. I would have liked to hear them say, hey, turn around, put your hands behind your back, you're under arrest. But he knew what time it was because he squared up. And he's like, And then he got all froggy. Like, if you're going to fight with the cops, like, you're going to expect to get in a fight.
Yeah.
So that was a fight. When it was done, you guys all saw when it was done. The officer was on top of him. You can't just get up because then it could reinvigorate him and he's going to think he's got room to run. So I didn't have a problem with that one. That was good communication. No strikes. I didn't see a single strike. So that was great. Good communication. They didn't seem to just try to wrench on his wrists or anything bad like that. It was a good arrest. Good stuff. Marine Blood said, Eric is a current civilian cop and an Air Force cop, thus 2 cops, 1 donut. Banning is a retired cop. Somebody must have asked in the comment. Yeah. Love Freedom said, yeah, good cops. I agree. I no issues with that play there. And for those that were watching that one. You farting over there?
Having some lighting issues, man. It's just
because your light fell.
Yeah.
You look fine, Bubba. You look good. So, all right. I'm gonna go to the comments, and we'll cut this thing. We'll cut this thing here in about 10 minutes. I want to see what everybody's thinking. First and foremost, what was your guys' thoughts on Long Island stuff tonight? I think we made our opinion pretty well known just based on what we see in the video. I didn't see anything for a criminal trespass. I didn't see that. Huntery one said, Sergeant Levine, my colleagues had a taser deployed guy laying on his belly. He resisted and died from excited delirium. Yeah, that can happen. So excited delirium can be exacerbated by tasers. They can be exacerbated by anything that gets their heart rate going because they're already jacked up, and then you introduce electricity and stuff like that. The problem with excited delirium is sometimes you don't know you have it yet. It's figuring it out and finding the signs quickly, as quick as you can to help mitigate it. But that doesn't mean you stop an arrest. If a guy's got I've seen people with excited delirium start swinging around a shovel.
Yep.
I'm not going to go hands-on with a dude swinging a shovel around. I don't want to shoot him, so taser's really the only option. And you got to mitigate what you can, guys. I think that's reasonable. Freeman Banning. Did you get a new AOL disc? I can see and hear you.
A little bit different, right?
Bro, I kept like freezing, I think, because we had so many people on. It seems to be getting better.
Sean's froze a couple. I'm sure mine did too.
No, yours didn't. I didn't see yours freeze anyway. I know I kept seeing myself freeze, and I'd see Sean freeze every once in a great while. Yeah. Mr. Billfold said, this is a whiny chat, I see. Is there people whining? I couldn't tell. I could not keep up. Y'all, it was awesome. It was very fun. I now see how much trouble it must be for these very large channels to have these chats while they're in here. It's got to be crazy.
Just a bearded Tim.
I missed it. What'd he say? Banning looking like he's about to read a few novels of 50 Shades of Grey. Freeman said, Long Island Audit is a legend. I tried to win the 100,000 plaque he was giving away years ago. I think Sean is a legend helping us all out. I am so glad you gentlemen are associated because I love what you do. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. I saw somebody donate. Dang it. Where'd it go? HBO Matt. Oh, it's HBO Matt. He's in the house. He said, super chat, $5. Who wants to hear 2 police chiefs conspire to arrest all cop watchers until we stop coming to their towns and take all of our guns away forever? I do. I want to hear it. Bring it on, Matt. Guys, make sure you guys check out HBO Matt. He's out there doing great stuff. Aria says, I was wondering if they had a intercom system on the door. Why didn't they tell Sean to leave through the intercom system? Good question. I think that's reasonable as well. I really don't think that they needed to do anything other than just say, hey, you got to go. And then he leaves. Because if they would have went back inside just behind the glass, he would have had to have left and continuously moved.
They didn't have to come out there at all, and to show that. I mean, if they're, they're saying this is private and everything. Well, don't go talk to him. Right. He's not impeding the space for other people to come in. They can let one or two people in. The people that have meetings or that are allowed to be there. And I mean, there are so many different ways to control this, and it went the way that we all saw the way it went. So, I mean, it's just not great.
Yep, agreed. Yeah. I had 65 messages while we were on that. I couldn't get to it, guys. Sorry. I saw there's a bunch of phone messages. I had to be respectful. Sean only had it. He's like, I got a hard hour. I was like, all right, let me see what I can do here. Cause I had a ton of questions lined up. Looking at the things. Sallow Ghost said, this was a spectacular podcast. Thank you so much. Freedom and our rights are so important. Blessings. I agree. I think it's very important that police get constitutionally minded when it comes to policing, because it's the backbone of our oath. So I think it makes policing a lot simpler once you do that. And for those out there that keep posting, I should have said this at the beginning. We don't do politics. We don't do religion on here. So if our mods get a hold of you, I'm sorry. It's just we don't do either. I'm sure they're giving out warnings and whatnot. But yeah, we avoid that stuff like the plague, because it's just not there's plenty of other guys that can go do the politics stuff. That's not us. We're here to make policing better. We're here to make encounters with citizens better. Because let's face it, sometimes citizens are the problem. How often do you see citizens try to weaponize police against somebody they don't like doing something like filming in public or whatever? And they'll call the cops on a guy that's on a sidewalk, a public sidewalk. And now they're trying to amp up a situation that police don't even need to be involved in if you understand basic rights. So it is what it is. What you got going on, Banning? You got any parting words of wisdom tonight?
No, man, just a long work week ahead, but a good work week. In 2 years, I've been out of the law enforcement game and now into the corporate game, but I'm slowly getting used to things, and things are getting better. And what about you? What do you got going on?
FIFA is starting to wind down now. All the eliminations are coming, so because of that, I don't have to work nearly as hard. But sorry, I'm just getting comments here. But yeah, somebody's getting. This is the semantics part. I'm sorry, I get on tangent. So on another chat, somebody said, you call out cops not being held accountable for their abuse, or you called out cops not be held accountable for their abuse. Unfortunate. Hopefully you're not able to change your tune or your coat when unfortunate events befall upon your gang. If you get that deep in the weeds on the semantics of the words I'm using, get bent. See how many different ways you can figure out what that means. Because that if you can't see the spirit behind what we're talking about, then I guess this isn't the platform for you. So is what it is. Anyway, FIFA's winding down. I've had to work, 38 days straight because of FIFA, because it's in my city. But I will say, I love what FIFA has been, what it's represented. The unity has been more uniting than the Olympics ever has been, in my experience. I think seeing all these people come around and somebody said, hey, Sergeant Eric, is Sean going to win this case? Oh, 100%. Yeah, you don't have the elements for criminal trespass on a guy that's continuing to move. Anyway, but the people, everybody, I mean, everything I've seen, people have been saying, the United States isn't what they thought it was. The media lied to them. They've been having nothing but a great time with the people, the police, the fire, all the first responders, the restaurants. They love our food. So apparently our food was like a big thing. So the World Cup has been, FIFA World Cup has been just great. I think it's made me like soccer or football. I'm not going to call it football ever, but I like it now. I've learned the rules. I understand it. I don't have a favorite team other than the United States because I just don't. I don't know the players. I don't know who. I know Messi and what's the other guy? Ronaldo. Is that the other big dude? Those are the only two names I know.
Yeah, I need to brush up on it a little bit more before I even comment on it. So.
I've been forced to watch all these games, so I enjoy it. It's fun to watch once you understand the rules. Now that I know the rules, I can enjoy it. So it's fun. John Felix said soccer is lame. Yes, hey, I was on the side. I thought it was too. So, but. All right, we are right at about 2 hours. Banning, I got nothing else. Everybody else, I appreciate you guys joining. If you haven't done so already, please, I know I'm not asking for your hard-earned money, but a like, a follow, and subscribe goes a lot further with us. We really does makes the mission worth it and tells us that we're doing the right thing to keep going. So what you got, Banning?
That's about it. I just appreciate everybody taking the time to come to the channel and watch it tonight. So thank you very much.
Yep. Appreciate it. Ditto. Everybody, to our mods, thank you very much. Everybody else, have a good night and take it easy.